Hello, everyone. So let's talk about how is lupus diagnosed. So this is an issue because it's not like there's one test for us to take and say, yep, you have lupus, or nope, there's no lupus here. It's actually a multiple of tests combined with symptoms, combined with your doctor having to piece the puzzle together for you to get a diagnosis. So it's not an easy one little test and yes, you have lupus or anything like that. So I can tell you how I was diagnosed. And also, while we're talking about this, it took years to get a diagnosis. I was feeling sick for a long time before I was ever diagnosed. And in the United States, it could take up to 7 years or longer to receive a lupus diagnosis. So there's a lot of work we need to do in this area so that we can get healthier quicker and realize what is causing all of this. So one of the symptoms for lupus is a butterfly rash on your face. I happen to have that butterfly rash. I had redness, looked like the butterfly rash when I went in for my appointment with my rhumologist to see if I had lupus. And I happened to have it on the day of. And he was like, yeah, that's the butterfly rash that everyone talks about with lupus. Now, I just happened to get lucky and have the rash the day of. The rash comes and goes across my face. So if you see a butterfly type rash on your face, take a picture and bring it with you when you go see the specialist so that you can show them, because you may not have that rash on your face the day of your appointment like I did, and you need to be able to show them. So the doctor's going to ask you about your symptoms, and this is where it gets tricky because all of us have different symptoms with lupus. This is also why it's so hard to get a diagnosis, because my symptoms may not be your symptoms at all. And so a doctor really has to pay attention to the symptoms, pay attention to the blood test results, and pay attention to family history and everything else to piece it together, which is why we wait so long for a lupus diagnosis. So another question that they have is, do you have mouth sores that last longer than a few days? I did not have the symptom. I have not had mouth sores. And you also can get sores in your nose. I have never had this symptom. However, I was diagnosed with lupus. So if you have sores that last longer than a few days, pay attention and bring this up with your doctor when they're asking you about your symptoms, because that is a clear symptom or indicator that you could have lupus. The next one was arthritis. Do you have tenderness and pain in your joints? I did. In fact, I was also diagnosed at the same time I was diagnosed with lupus. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at the same time. That is another symptom that they look for if you have lupus. Something else that they look for is lung and heart inflammation. That often is a sign of lupus, and one of the symptoms that they look for. They can look for heart and lung inflammation with blood tests and other types of testing that they do to rule it in or out. They also look for kidney problems. A lot of times with lupus, the main organ that we begin to attack is the kidneys. A lot of time there's kidney involvement with lupus. Now, I do not have this. I have not attacked my kidneys. I do not have any of the indicators that I've attacked my kidneys. And for that, I'm super, super grateful. But it is one of the tests. So when I was at the doctor or the specialist trying to get diagnosed, they did check my kidneys, and we did look for inflammation or for signs that my body was attacking my kidneys. That's just another symptom or ailment that they bring into the lupus diagnosis. Do you have neurological symptoms like seizures or strokes? A lot of times this is also associated with lupus. I, however, did not have this symptom. Another thing that they do is blood tests. They look for abnormal results. They look for low blood cell counts. Do you have anemia? Do you have low cell counts? Red blood cell counts, are they low? Do you have a positive anti-nuclear antibody test? An ANA is what we call it for short. I had this. I had a positive antibody test. In fact, this is how I actually got to go see a specialist, because my primary care physician gave me the ANA test, the antibody test, and mine came back high. And he was like, you need to see a specialist. Now, I was starting down that road trying to figure out which autoimmune disease that I had. A positive antibody test, or ANA, can indicate an autoimmune condition. However, that alone does not mean you have an autoimmune condition. It has to be combined with other elements that we're talking about and other symptoms that we're talking about today in this video. So I want you to be aware of this, because I did test positive for an ANA, and I did test positive for inflammation throughout my body. With that, my primary care said, see a specialist and let him figure out which autoimmune condition this is or isn't. It's out of my range of expertise. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the first rhumologist that I saw took a look at those tests and said, that means nothing. Everybody's is high. It doesn't mean you have any type of autoimmune condition. However, he was really, really wrong. So I want to bring this up in case this happens to you. Just because you have a positive ANA or chronic inflammation throughout your body, it doesn't mean you have an autoimmune condition. However, they do need to dig deeper. So this particular doctor didn't want to dig deeper. So I found another one who would dig deeper to figure out if I had an autoimmune condition or not. Now, they combine all of this testing, and they will also do, if you have rashes anywhere or skin lesions, they can also do biopsies to test to see if it's lupus. I did not have this particular test because I did not have rashes at the time of my diagnosis that they could test. However, you will often see people or hear about people who do skin biopsies to confirm lupus. It doesn't mean you have to have one, but it's just part of the process. So to make this super, super clear, all of us have different symptoms, different reactions when we get lupus. And so it becomes hard to piece this puzzle together. There's not one test, but it's many tests. They'll also ask you about your family history, what symptoms you have throughout the day, if they come and go, what are they like for you? And all of this together with combining the blood test and seeing what type of organs you're attacking in your body, or if there's heart and lung inflammation, help them come up with a lupus diagnosis. It doesn't mean you'll have all of those wrong or positive. It just means some of them will be. So the actual test is that with all of the symptoms and the blood results, you will have at least 4 things going on to get the lupus diagnosis. So it's like piecing a puzzle together, and it's complicated and it's hard. And this is why it takes us about 7 to 9 years to actually become diagnosed with lupus. So if you're going through this process, hang in there. You're in for a bumpy ride. You're in for a lot of questions with no answers, but I hope this video helps you during your time of diagnosis. And remember, it's different for all of us. So even if you don't have the symptoms that I have, you can still be diagnosed with lupus. See you guys in the next video.